Welcome back to Husker Harvest Days. Joe Gangwish here on the Rural Radio Network. We're live from the Rural Radio Network Broadcast Center on the west side of Main Street at Husker Harvest Days. We get the pleasure every year to visit with representatives from the Nebraska Bankers Association. With us, we have Mike Pate. He's a NBA chairman, and he's also with the United Republic Bank in Omaha. Also, we have with us Jerry Catlett from Bruning State Bank. He's vice president of NBA and also senior VP for Bruning State Bank. And also Richard Byer is with us. Richard is the president and CEO of the Nebraska Bankers Association. And first of all, Richard, let me start with you. Let's talk about, first of all, the commodity prices are low right now. What are you talking to producers about right now?
Well, Joe, I appreciate it. We're really focused right now on talking to our rural and ag banks in particular about getting out, seeing their customers, and really encouraging the farmers to come in and be proactive in the process of talking with their banker. And, don't wait till there's a problem. I guess our message is be proactive, talk to their banker, identify the issues, and make sure that you're addressing your challenges if you're going to have any, so that you've got them out in front of you.
Well, it has been maybe a challenging year. We've had such great years the past couple of years. Now it becomes a challenging year. So do you remind producers to make sure to put back a little during the good times?
Absolutely. Our bankers really are going to be looking at cash flow. That's really going to be their focus as they deal with their customers and begin to think about planning for the next year or two in their business cycle.
Yeah. Jerry, let me ask you. You're part of the rural banking side, of course, being at Bruning State Bank. What are some of the things that you've seen here the last year or so that you're working with producers on?
Well, I think, as most people know, the trend in commodity prices hasn't been going the direction that we'd like. So we've been talking to folks about doing a better job of marketing, finding somebody to help you with that, finding some expertise if you don't feel like you have the expertise to do that, because this business has always been about cash flow. And when we get into times like we're headed for, it looks like, as far as these prices tending down, it's going to get more and more important to maintain working capital and have a positive cash flow.
Have you seen that more and more the last few years, where banks get more involved in helping producers along the line, because it can get kind of stressful for them?
Well, you go back and look for the last, 2008 to 2012 and into 13, we had such high commodity prices that the job for marketing was, I shouldn't say relatively easy, but not everybody sold at $7 a bushel, and not everybody's going to sell at $3.50 this time around either. But I think it all comes down to management, and I think that's what we've been stressing with people is that the better managers are going to survive, and that to be that, you got to be proactive, work with your lender, but also you have to think about risk management and cover a lot more bases than you ever used to have to.
Michael, let me ask you from a city standpoint, how do you view the vitality of the rural Nebraska and what you see the banking situation right now?
Well, as we all know, the economy in the state of Nebraska to a large degree is driven by the ag economy, and that filters into Omaha even as well. So we're seeing a lot of activity in the Omaha market, and I think across the state, all indications are that the economy is doing extremely well. A lot of that, of course, driven by the ag sector, but just economic expansion all over.
How about the economy of the nation right now? How do you see that playing a factor?
Yeah, that's the crystal ball, right? It's right now the economy seems to be improving. I think there are still signs of weakness in the economy, which is the dilemma that the Fed is facing right now when they're considering whether or not they want to or need to raise interest rates. We all believe that they will start raising interest rates, whether that be at the next meeting coming up here in the next couple of days or in December remains to be seen. But even if they do start raising interest rates, I don't believe the velocity of any future rate increases will be that much. I think it'll be very slow because the economy still isn't hitting necessarily all of its targets, but it's doing better. It's improving.
Richard, let's go back to you. You just had your agriculture conference here not too long ago. What were some of the major things that you hit at the conference?
Well, as you might imagine, we talked a lot about, from an economics perspective, what's going to happen to the prices, what's going to happen to the value of the dollar, and also tied to that is the value of oil in terms of ethanol and a variety of other products. And there was a lot of interest in that. We did a couple of other things. We really focused a lot on trying to educate our young ag bankers, because if you look at our ag lenders across the state of Nebraska, we we don't have a lot of tweeners. We got a lot of folks who are 60 and over. We have a lot of people who are 25 to 35 who've really never seen a downturn in the ag economy. And so a lot of that was focused on beginning to think and educate those young bankers about how do you start to look at loans differently, how do you look at operations differently as we kind of move through this cycle. So that was really kind of our big focus.
Yeah, maybe this is for both you and Jerry. We've talked about expansion in the cattle industry here lately. Are you starting to see that from the banking standpoint?
We are. As I've traveled the state, and I put on a lot of miles back and forth across Nebraska, and I think a lot of our ag banks are telling me that they're still doing pretty well because they've got producers who are doing both crops and livestock. And so it's been a nice balance. Not a lot of our banks are just in areas where they're doing only crops. So it's been a nice balance, and they are seeing some positive flow. But again, when you're dropping a calf on the ground at $800 or $900, it gets to be a challenge as well. And folks need to be cognizant because there's going to be a down cycle in the livestock sector as well.
All right. Anything else? Go ahead, Jerry.
Joe, but I think on that point about the cattle, we had a gentleman there from Cattle Facts that was talking about the cattle market, and it's been it's been a great market for producers, for the cow-calf guys, and I think about the analogy he used is that the cattle market has a way of throwing curveballs at people. And sometimes those curveballs, when they come at you, drop pretty fast. And I think that's something we've got to be careful of, especially in the cow-calf operation, is that we aren't overdoing things now. So when that curveball comes, that we're not taken back by it. So. All
right. Well, thanks, gentlemen. That was Jerry Catlett, also Michael Pate, and Richard Byer, all from the Nebraska Bankers Association, with us here, broadcasting live from Husker Harvest Days. I'm Joe Gangwish on the Rural Radio Network.